Welcome everybody to the Keys to Wisdom channel. To get to this point, you saw the pictures of Brittney Griner's birth dates and conception dates. So I jumped from one Brittney to another, even though they don't spell Brittney the same. And I jumped from a very, very easy reading on Brittney Jean Spears to a much more difficult reading on Brittney Yvette Griner, but I think I've come up with something pretty solid. So I'm going to start out here with the 3 dates of birth of Brittney Yvette Griner. The October 18th, 1990 Gregorian date of birth. The October 5th, 1990 Julian date of birth, and the Tishri 29th, 5751 Hebrew date of birth, right? Brittney Griner at 10/18/90 is one of those 6 digits. So that's why it's much more complicated. And I've got a little thing blocking what I've got written there, but I believe it's this time I'm using or and, right? So the Gregorian or the Julian and the Hebrew, right? So date of birth or the October 5th, 1990 Julian date of birth and the Tishri 29, 5751 Hebrew date of birth. So at this point, I decided to work off of here when I put in 3 dates of birth, and I picked up the key containing her Julian date of birth of October 5th, 1990. I started to work off of that. So I've got everything stuck in the notepad. I don't have to type stuff in. Alright, I see the Julian date, October 5, 1990. Right, that's what we saw there. And now we've got 10/18/90, which is her Julian date of birth, October 18th, 1990 Gregorian. So I went on from there because I always want to get some kind of confirmation. The more confirmation, the better. Next thing I put in is, and I see October 18, 1990. So that's what we saw, 10/18/90. Now we've got it, the Julian date, a little bit different, but it's there just the same. 10/5/90. I went on again from there. Hopefully this doesn't shrink down to where we can't see the keys, because I have to back some stuff off. I saw her Gregorian and Julian birth dates, which we've saw them 3 different times. Now at this point here, what I'm seeing, let's see where we at. I'm seeing 1/23/90 in here. It's the first time I've come up seeing a possible conception date. And then I'm also going to interpret this as being the 411 or the pertinent data regarding Brittney Griner that I'm looking for, right? The 411, 123, 123.90. So then I went on to seek a little bit of confirmation from that. Let's see, I might have to stick it over here to the side. I saw and heard 411 conception. And now what I'm getting produced is one from January 23rd, 1990 in that key. 113029. The one from 123.90. So at this point here, I decided, all right, this is pretty strong stuff, right? And I like the significance of the 411 in there, right? Showing that January 23rd date is the pertinent info we're looking for, while also right along with the January 23rd, 1990 date in the other key. So it was the complete date of 123.90 and then the 411 of the 123. I saw and heard 411 conception, and there I'm back at the same thing, right? That's what we're trying to confirm. The 411 of 123, 1990. So I went on to do now some conception stuff. This is what I come up with. Brittney Griner conceived on January 23, 1990 Gregorian, and January 10. Looks like we got our commas messed up here. January 10, 1990 Julian, and Tevet 26, 5750 Hebrew. Here in the date, in the key, I've got 123.90 using all three dates. But I wanted to go on and do a little bit of confirmation, right? Here. So I went in and I put in let's see, January 23, 1990 confirmation. Now this, right, I would have stopped right here if it said 10/18/90. But it says 10/19/90. So now it got my wheels spinning, right? It is confirmation, right? It's telling us we're talking about the same person, but it's telling us something like we're a day off, right? So I had to ponder it for a second and figure it out, what it was. So at this point, right, I'm saying you're a day off. Yes, you're dealing with Brittney Griner, but it's showing us a day off based on her birth date instead of 10/18/90, which would have, if that would have popped up 10/18/90, it would have said, hey, you got everything perfect. But it's telling me you're close, you're right there, you got the right person, something's wrong. So then I put in, let's see the after sunset confirmation. And that's what happens is the Hebrew day changes after sunset. Now, for a lot of people, right, on birthdays, the majority of birthdays is probably all, it's going to slant towards being not after sunset. Just a small amount of people are going to be born after sunset, between sunset and midnight, changing their Hebrew day. But when it comes to conception, right, a lot more people are going to have a different conception day based on the after sunset component of Hebrew, just because of our sleeping and sexual practices, right? People are gone most of the day working, doing all their other stuff, right? And people are in bed together much more after dark, right? So I put in, let's see the after sunset confirmation. Changes Tevet 26 to Tevet 27. And now I have the one from 12390. So the January 23rd, 1990 Gregorian was her correct conception day. January 10, 1990 Julian was her correct conception day. That 10/19/90 popping out at us was telling us you're a day off, and here now we have figured it out, right? It is, she was conceived on Tevet 27, so it was January 23rd, 1990, after dark, right? So this was more complicated because she's got the 6-digit birth date, and this was also more complicated because the after dark component, after sunset component of the Hebrew date also came into play with her. But this was excellent work for me to do, right? To be able to see that and figure that out, because this is going to come into play with quite a few people, because like I said, right, human couples tend to be sleeping in the same bed after sunset, right, quite often, and quite a lot of us are going to be made after sunset when it comes to the Hebrew dates of conception, right? The Hebrew date of birth is going to be much more accurate without the sunset component in it, right? And most people will have a time of birth to be able to get that straight. But when it comes to conception, it's going to be much less accurate, and a much bigger percentage of the population is going to be conceived after sunset than before sunset, which will switch their days off of Hebrew to one day later. So when I put that in there, let's see the after sunset confirmation. That after sunset factor changes to Tevet 26 to Tevet 27, and there we are, the one from 12390, just the same way that we ended the original work on the dates of birth. So when we work out all 3 dates of birth, all the different confirmations, that's where we end, the one from 12390. And then when we work out all 3 conception dates for Brittney Griner, and we get everything corrected, we end up at the same one from January 23rd, 1990. So that's a wrap on Brittney Yvette Griner, conceived on January 23rd, 1990. That's where her years change, not on October 18th, 1990. So when you want to wish Brittney Griner happy conception day, it's January 23rd. That's when her years change, not October 18th. So good for her to get out of that Russian prison that she was in for quite a long time, right? It's not somewhere you want anybody to be, but now that she's free, maybe she'll run into this on the internet, and I'll give her a little gift of when she actually turns years and when she was actually confirmed and where her place is in the beginning, which is not October 18th, 1990. It is January 23rd, 1990. So with that said, please like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel if you think that's something you should do. And have a nice day.